How is this is a follow-up from the video I made about Oumuamua, the comet, probably intelligent controlled spaceship that actually changed my mind from not believing in space aliens having visited Earth to believing it now. That thing is intelligent controlled, end of. Now, some of you are quite surprised by that. You seem to think that I was taking the piss or something. No, I'm 100% serious about that. That was a real thing to me. I also had to laugh at the irony of flat earthers calling me naive and telling me to, wake up. Well, aside from that, let me explain to you what I mean, what space travel means to me. I have the same attitude towards space travel as, say, Arthur C. Clarke had. To me, it's extremely psychedelic. If you see the video that I've made on my other channel, link below, called The Shamanic Consequences of Space Travel, you'll see that I do believe they went to the moon, and I believe that the moon hoax story was invented by them in order to distract from the fact that when those guys got into space, it was very, very strange indeed. And the rules of normal space-time physics, reality, it just folded. That's why they had all these comments. So many of them had these comments about, you need a mystic and to describe what we saw. And Buzz Aldrin became almost a destroyed man, an alcoholic and everything from it. Now, I do believe they went, because it would be much more difficult to fake a fake moon mission than to do a real one, and to keep the secret being possible. And also there's lots of proof, like there's mirrors on the moon, and there was triangulated radio signals captured by shortwave radio people, two brothers in Italy actually, that were the KGB were actually trying to assassinate at the time, but the KGB agent that went to assassinate them thought they were really nice guys and didn't want to kill them, because they were also tapping into Russian, using the radio systems they were building, the amateur radio system to track Russian spaceships. Now, regarding this object, as I said, I have a psychedelic, almost shamanic attitude to space travel. To me, going in a spaceship and traveling outside Earth orbit, say outside the orbit of the ISS, is akin to taking DMT. It's a crude and expensive form of taking DMT or mushrooms or LSD and having a psychedelic experience. I absolutely believe that on two levels human consciousness is connected heavily to the bottom of the oceans and the deepest waters. You've seen me write about that in my books, but also to outer space. Now, I believe that our ancestors could travel, like I have a video about the Dogon, I'll also put the link down below, that they probably somehow through shamanic practices or whatever achieved interstellar space travel. You don't need a spaceship. Someone left a comment saying if you ever travel through space you'll need magic. I totally agree. Now, assuming that this object that came and it was alien controlled, magic still wouldn't be out of the picture. You could control it with your mind. You could control it with your consciousness. You could control it in the similar ways that was outlined in Frank Herbert's Dune, through the spice. The spice controls, it expands consciousness and is vital to space travel. The same ideas, we don't know what an alien brain, life form and consciousness could be like. That could be for them the easiest way to do it. Perhaps human beings one day will be able to do it in the same way. And then instead of having these crude rockets taking us to the stars, we go in our minds. I've seen grey aliens many, many times on mushrooms. Why? Why? Now, they hide things, that's absolutely true, but this thing was different. It didn't really get that much attention until very recently, and I think I did mention it last year on Facebook, that there's a thing that changed direction and sped up, and that's very unusual, and then thought nothing of it until this Harvard paper came out by the two scientists. Now you could say, oh, that's all, you know, psyops, and this is all to do with Project Bluebeam. Yes, it could be. But there's also a sensation that's very strange at the moment. I don't care what anyone says, there's definitely a shift in reality and consciousness going on, and lots of us are feeling it. Things do feel different this year. There's, in the last year or so, there's been a change, and I've noticed in behaviours of people, but just a general sensation of the experience of reality is quite odd. And it's exciting, it's beautiful, it's taxing, it's all kinds of things, but there is a fracture in the matrix, absolutely. Now, this is always related to human consciousness, so someone suggested, well, maybe that object from outer space is something to do with that, or it comes from a consciousness that's different. Absolutely 100% agree with that. I will not argue with that at all. I'm totally open to all ideas. I don't know any more than anyone. I've never been to a space planet. I've never been in outer space. I don't know. I can only go by what the best data and information I can go by. I'm not interested in, you know, spaceships or anything like that, other than, you know, what effects it has on the astronauts. I do believe that deep space travel for humans stopped after Apollo, because the Russians gave up, and the Russians were like the Americans, said it's just too weird out there. It's just too weird out there, and you know, the laws of everything collapse. And this object that came into the solar system, Oumuamua, whatever it's called, that could be something like that. Now, we must always be vigilant that we're being played for a sucker. So I have a lot of sympathy for these people who say it could be Project Bluebeam or it could be a distraction. That's true. My gut feeling, and just seeing the people been involved in it, they're not the usual NASA bigwigs, leads me to think this is legit. I'm convinced it's legit. You see, they create distractions that are huge, and this is not a huge one. I'll give you an example. I really do believe that the hollow earth exists. Not in the hollowed out sphere, but I believe there are vast undiscovered or discovered cave systems down there that have life forms in them that are far more complex than we could imagine. I've caved a lot myself when I was younger. I never went potholing like that kind of thing. I've been in an awful lot of caves. And I always get the impression that there's more. There's always more down there. And I think many people who go deep into caves get that feeling too. I think that's what drives the potholer to go deeper and deeper into the cave. They're going on another kind of shamanic or psychedelic experience, believe it or not. What's the best way to hide the fact that there's a vast cave structure and inner earth structure that perhaps everything from military weapons to entire governments to entire civilizations are living in? You create a flat earth theory. See, I can play that game too, and you know, so like these people, you know, the flat earth people, they hang their nails on it as it's a religion. It's a fact. Well, I'm not afraid to change my mind that if things came along that this thing wasn't an alien spaceship, and by Christ, that would be very surprising to me considering how this thing has behaved. I will gladly admit I was wrong. I'm not afraid to admit I'm wrong. I'm a truth seeker. A truth seeker is someone who's willing to admit that they were full of shit at one time or made some mistakes, and that's okay. You learn from your mistakes. A truther is someone who refuses to admit that they've made mistakes, and they become fanatical and dogmatic about it. And that's what makes a truther a truther. A truth seeker doesn't do that. Truth seeker follows the Charles Fortian notion that everything that exists is a fashion that can change at any time. So yeah, I was absolutely 100% serious about that, and I'm even more kind of deeply thinking about it. You know, I do have a lot of time for these people who say that our evolution could have been triggered by things from outer space. Yeah, absolutely. Cosmic rays, all these kinds of things. These things are impacting upon the earth. Wouldn't the climate change thing be a great way of hiding the fact that the sun is doing things to humanity? That it's upgrading us? Wouldn't that be a great way of doing that, or changing us, or adapting us in a new kind of evolutionary way? I'm really digging this Aladdin saying light. Oh, I got a new light, put it sideways. I'm really digging this. But a Wagner opera, Parsifal. But yes, yeah, the video, I was in a bad mood yesterday because I was up on the roof and it started pissing every 5 minutes. I kept coming down, getting back up again, start pissing again, and it just was annoying, and I was starting to get, my asthma was starting to get really acting up. Oh, by the way, the reason why the music was on that is not because, ooh, spooky. Well, it's a beautiful piece of music I wrote myself, but an epoxy electric fan running down here, and when I put the video back on, I was like, ooh, ooh. I used the noise reduction software to get it out, and then it was like, ee. I put the music on, that droning music on top of it to hide it. Easy. And you'll hear I'm not wheezing now, so there's no need to you know, extensively edit this video. But yeah, that's it. If you don't like it, that's life.